California is no stranger to wildfires. With such windy, dry, and often hot weather conditions from spring through late fall, fires frequently occur in this state, ranging from moderate to truly devastating. Residents of the state have long ceased to be surprised by isolated cases of fires. A different matter arises when such cases suddenly stop being isolated. It all began on December 10th, 1984. A major fire broke out in a shopping center in a Los Angeles suburb. It started in one of the hardware stores inside the complex, but spread so rapidly that by the time firefighters arrived, the entire building was already engulfed in flames. For several hours, firefighters tried to contain the raging blaze, but they only succeeded when almost the entire building had been destroyed. The damage from the fire amounted to several $million, but that was only a small price. The fire claimed the lives of 4 people, 2 shopping center employees, as well as a grandmother and her 2-year-old grandson who had come to the center for groceries. Moreover, the latter 2 were found just 30 meters from the exit. They were literally a short distance from safety. In the United States, there is a position called fire marshal or fire commissioner. This person oversees compliance with fire safety regulations and investigates fires, in particular determining their causes. Often, the fire marshal also serves as the head of the local fire department, or is a former head of such a department. Over the course of several days, dozens of fire marshals from nearby areas worked to determine the cause of what happened. Almost all concluded that the fire was caused by faulty electrical wiring. Only one person insisted it was arson. That was John Orr, one of the most experienced fire marshals in the group. He was known for his incredible intuition, which often guided him to the correct cause of this or that blaze. However, despite his respected status, no one supported his theory of an arsonist. Yet, as time would show, his gut feeling did not deceive John Orr this time either. In January 1987, 3 years after the Los Angeles fire, also in California, but near the city of Fresno, an unusually large number of suspicious fires broke out. The first incident occurred in a furniture store. The mattress department caught fire. Within minutes, the blaze spread to the building across the street, a sewing goods store. The next day, in a neighboring town, a pharmacy and a small garden shop burned. Finally, the last in this series was a clothing store. In this string of fires, no one died, but the store owners suffered enormous losses. 4 out of the 5 stores were almost completely destroyed. Only the first one, the furniture store, got lucky. An employee noticed the early flames in time and extinguished them with a fire extinguisher. The fact that the fire in the first store was quickly extinguished made it possible to find some evidence. In particular, between 2 stacked mattresses, they discovered what was considered the source of the fire: a cigarette, several matches, a sheet of yellow paper, and a rubber band. The mechanism was simple. A rubber band was used to attach a sheet of paper and several matches to the end of the cigarette. The cigarette was lit, and then the perpetrator placed it between the mattresses. There, it smoldered slowly. When the cigarette burned down to the end, it ignited the attached matches and paper, which in turn set the mattresses ablaze. At first glance, a primitive design. But if you think about it, this was a true time delay bomb mechanism. The delay provided by the smoldering cigarette allowed the criminal to get dozens of kilometers away from the scene and remain above suspicion. The found items were sent to the lab. After lengthy examination, an important clue was discovered on one of them, the sheet of yellow paper. A fingerprint. It was checked against the database, but no matches were found. This meant the serial arsonist had no prior criminal record, which significantly complicated the search. At this stage, the fire marshals could do nothing. All that remained was to wait for the arsonist's next strike, in hopes that he would leave new evidence. At the turn of 1990 to 1991, the serial arsonist escalated to a new level. Now he was setting fire not only to stores, but also to ordinary residential homes. In Southern California, in the Los Angeles metropolitan area and its surroundings, a new series of arsons flared up. The largest occurred in the town of Glendale. Flames engulfed more than 60 homes, and tens of thousands of residents were evacuated. Almost no evidence remained. The flames destroyed nearly everything. Only occasionally did police find scraps of smoldering yellow paper, but without fingerprints.
We have some very good leads, and some of the evidence matches up with this individual and ties him into the fires.
In 1991, a special task force was formed to hunt for the serial arsonist. Dozens of investigative theories led nowhere. Then one team member, Fire Marshal Marvin Casey, noticed something that had previously escaped investigators. The locations of the fires were not chosen randomly. They had a subtle but clear connection. This observation led Casey to propose a theory about whom to look for among suspects. He compared the fingerprint from the only piece of evidence, the yellow sheet, with the fingerprints of a circle of suspects. A match was found. The print belonged to one of the most respected fire marshals, John Orr. It turned out that a couple of days before or after the fires in these areas, fire marshal conferences or meetings regularly took place. This led Casey to think the arsonist could be one of the conference attendees. After checking attendance lists, he narrowed it down to 10 people present at every such event. Fingerprint comparison confirmed. The trace was left by none other than John Orr. It was hard to believe. A theory even arose that the fingerprint had gotten onto the paper accidentally during the 1987 evidence search, but it was ruled out. Orr had not participated in those specific investigative efforts. Despite the fingerprint match, Orr's reputation, an excellent marshal with 15 years of experience, made people doubt his guilt. A deeper investigation and ironclad proof were needed. In early May 1991, surveillance was placed on John Orr. A tracking device was attached to the underside of his car. Later, he discovered it and realized he was under suspicion. Knowing about the bug, he could remove it at will, and the tracker would show the car at home while Orr was elsewhere. But he didn't know about the second tracker. It was installed under the dashboard when the car was in the shop. On November 23, 1991, Orr made a critical mistake. He stopped at a store and bought cigarettes, even though he never smoked. Then he drove out of town, pulled over on the roadside, and spent some time there. About 20 minutes after he left, a report came in of a fire in a nearby forest. Over the radio, the dispatcher deliberately gave him the wrong address, but Orr still arrived exactly where needed. Now police had grounds for arrest. On December 4th, 1991, John Orr was taken into custody. During a search of his home, a huge number of fire photos were found, including some not yet attributed to him. But what drew the most attention was a 350-page novella written by Orr. It was titled Points of Origin, and told the story of a fire marshal who was a serial arsonist. The text described details of real fires, and the device used in the book exactly matched what the real arsonist employed. Over 15 years of service, John Orr had acquired near legendary status. Colleagues always marveled at how quickly he distinguished accidental fires from arson. probably because many of those arsons were his own doing. On March 24, 1993, John Orr pleaded guilty to some of the arsons charged against him, but later withdrew the plea. As a result of the trial, he was convicted of more than 20 arsons, including the Glendale fire that destroyed 67 homes. He faced the death penalty, but the jury could not reach a unanimous decision as required by state law. Ultimately, Orr was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. After his arrest, the number of fires in the Los Angeles area dropped by 90%. Most fire marshals, even though he was one of them, agree. John Leonard Orr was the most terrifying serial arsonist of the 20th century. Although not definitively proven, he is believed to have committed more than 2,000 arsons over 30 years. The story of John Orr is one of the most paradoxical and frightening in the history of USA fire safety. A man whom colleagues considered a genius at investigating arsons turned out to be the most dangerous and prolific arsonist of his era. His case demonstrated how thin the line is between knowledge and its abuse, and how deeply obsession can hide behind a mask of professionalism.